Before we begin, make sure you subscribe to this channel and turn on notifications because what you're about to see today is the kind of knowledge most people walk past every day without realizing what it's worth. Subscribing right now could be the difference between watching history and owning it. Now let me ask you something. How many times have you held a coin in your hand, felt its weight, glanced at its date, and thought nothing more of it? Maybe it sat in a drawer. Maybe it passed through your fingers at a market or was given to you as change decades ago. Most people never stop to ask where that coin has been, what it has seen, or why it was made in the first place. And that is exactly why stories like this one matter. Today, we're talking about a South African 50-cent coin from the year 1966. At first glance, it looks modest, plain to some, ordinary. But that appearance is deceptive, because behind this coin is a moment in time when an entire nation was redefining itself, when political power, economic survival, and cultural identity were all being pressed into metal. This is not just a coin. It is a witness that TO understand why this particular 50-cent piece matters. You have to go back to South Africa in the mid-1960s. This was a period of hard authority, rigid systems, and dramatic transformation. The country had recently cut formal ties with the British Commonwealth and declared itself a republic. That alone changed everything, including the money people used every day. Coins were no longer just tools for trade. They became symbols of independence, control, and national direction. In 1966, South Africa introduced a decimal currency system. That may sound technical, but it was revolutionary at the time. Overnight, pounds, shillings, and pence were replaced. People had to relearn value. Shopkeepers recalculated prices. Families adjusted their savings. And right in the middle of this massive economic shift was the 50-cent coin. Think about that. This coin entered circulation during confusion, resistance, and adaptation. It passed through the hands of factory workers, farmers, miners, businessmen, and soldiers. It paid for meals. It bought newspapers carrying headlines that shaped opinions. It sat in pockets during moments of uncertainty and change. And the men who handled this coin back then are the same generation many of you watching today belong to. Now let's talk about the feel of this coin. The moment you hold a 1966 South African 50-cent piece, you notice it has presence. It was not designed to feel cheap. It has a solidity that modern coins lack. Back then, coins were meant to last, not disappear into vending machines. The metal composition, the thickness, the sound it makes when placed on a table, all of that was intentional. Design choices in that era were conservative, authoritative, and symbolic. Nothing flashy, nothing accidental. Every line, every emblem, every word engraved on that coin had a purpose. It reflected a government that wanted permanence, control, continuity, and here's something most people miss. Coins like this weren't just produced to circulate locally. They were statements to the world. South Africa was telling other nations, we are stable, we are established, we mint our own future. But time has a way of changing meanings. As decades passed, these coins slowly disappeared from everyday use. New designs replaced them. Inflation reduced their purchasing power. Younger generations stopped recognizing them. And that's when something interesting happened. The coins stopped being money and started becoming history. Collectors understand this shift better than anyone. A coin's true value often begins when people stop paying attention to it. Scarcity isn't just about how many were made. It's about how many survived, how many were melted down, how many were lost, how many were simply forgotten in drawers, jars, or old wallets that no one has opened in years. The 1966 50-cent coin sits right at that intersection. Old enough to be historic, young enough that people still underestimate it. Now let's talk about condition, because this is where the story becomes personal. If you own one of these coins, or think you might, its state matters more than you realize. Coins that were heavily circulated tell one story. Coins that were protected tell another. Edges, surface marks, sharpness of detail. These things separate a common piece from something far more significant. But here's the twist. Even worn examples carry weight because of the year they represent. 1966 was not just any year. It marked the solidification of a new monetary system. It was the first full year many South Africans truly lived under decimal currency. That makes coins from this period foundational artifacts, and men tend to understand foundational things. Tools, machines, systems. You know the difference between something built to last and something made to be replaced. This coin belongs to the first category. There is also an emotional layer here that shouldn't be ignored. For many men watching this, 1966 isn't just a date. It's a memory, a time connected to youth, work, family, service, or struggle. Holding a coin from that year can feel like holding a fragment of your own story, even if you didn't realize it at first. And that emotional connection is part of what drives interest today. But let's be clear, this is not nostalgia alone. The growing attention around this coin isn't accidental. It's happening because people are starting to recognize overlooked value. Around the world, collectors are shifting focus. They're moving away from overly hyped pieces and toward coins with real historical grounding. The 1966 South African 50-cent coin fits that profile perfectly. It was minted during a turning point. It represents a system change. It carries political weight. And it comes from a country whose history is studied, debated, and respected globally. This is why more experienced collectors pay attention when this coin appears. Another important point is trust. Older collectors tend to trust tangible assets, things you can hold, things that don't vanish with a market crash or a password reset. Coins have always been part of that mindset. For centuries, men stored wealth in metal, not because it was fashionable, but because it was reliable. That mentality hasn't disappeared. It's just quieter now, and coins like this speak directly to it. Now imagine this scenario. A man cleans out an old drawer. He finds a few coins wrapped in cloth or paper. Among them, a 1966 South African 50-cent piece. To him, it might look like spare change. But to someone who understands the context, it's a preserved artifact from a specific economic and political moment. The difference between those two perspectives is knowledge, and knowledge changes outcomes. This is why you're watching this video, because not every coin shouts its worth. Some whisper, and only those who listen closely hear them. As time goes on, coins from transitional periods gain attention. Not hype-driven attention, but steady, informed interest. The kind that grows slowly and doesn't disappear overnight. The kind that appeals to men who value patience, research, and long-term thinking. If you're still watching right now, that probably describes you. So the question becomes, what happens next? What makes this coin stand out today compared to other coins from the same era? Why are people starting to talk about it more quietly, more seriously? And what does that mean if you already own one or come across one in the future? Those answers matter. And they're coming. Because by the end of this story, you're going to look at that small 50-cent coin very differently than you did at the start. And when the true value is finally revealed at the end, it won't feel random. It will feel earned.